Wibbly wibbly woo. Hello everyone. It's what day is it? It's Monday, isn't it? Bloody hell. How are you doing on Monday?
Yeah, what a fantastic weekend. Great sport on. And I was just thinking on the way home, I was driving home, I was thinking, wow, what a spectacle that was. You'd want a game like that in the final, so dramatic, just nerve-wracking at the end. And so many things went on during that game. And I've been running through my mind, I was just driving home thinking, oh my God, what a game that was, Obviously, we're disappointed as Man United fans. We should be trashing championship sides, but I just think it's good for football. The FA Cup stands up till this day. And I have been recent years been calling it a minor trophy, but it's a special trophy because the League Cup's a minor trophy as well. But this is a special trophy for sure.
Oh, I love the FA Cup. Like, have you ever got past the first round?
No, never.
No,
I've never played in the FA Cup.
Have you not? I've played in it at the university, twice, and never got anywhere near the first round. But it's something that I'd love to have done. But I love the FA Cup because me and you and everyone else can play in it.
Yeah. There's opportunity for everyone.
And I was also thinking today, on Monday, about the game last night. And one of the things that I was thinking about was how in films, in order for a film to be interesting, there needs to be setbacks and problems and conflicts for all the characters. And Man City is a boring film to watch. But Manchester United, it's like the Avengers or something. All hope is lost. Yeah. And then somehow, occasionally, we get over the line. And I just like next season. I'd like more boring films, to be honest. Like it feels like we're flying by the seat of our pants. And also, I have no control of the comments, so you're going to have to start them.
I'll start to filter through them now. Remember Doctor Strange? He was asked about the possibility of beating Thanos, the final boss, and winning. And I think I can't remember what it's like, 1 in 37 million or something like that. That's how it feels beating Man City in the final as well, because they're a fantastic team. You cannot deny that. Man City are just like top. Do you think Man City, just quickly before I go into the comments, do you think Man City are the best footballing side? You were to get the best, like Man United of the 90s, the Arsenal Invincibles, Liverpool recently, Man City, which era?
All right, well, you can take Liverpool straight out of that because the Man City team have...
Blackburn Rovers... who's the best? If you had a tournament, the quarterfinal, semi-final with like the best teams that we've seen in the Premiership, it could be teams that haven't even won the Premier League. It could be anyone. The Chelsea, Mourinho. Which team on their day would come through all of it based on character, skill, everything? So I'm going to go for just set up the comments, but I want to hear what you say to that.
So, what do you want an answer, or do you want to do the comments?
No, I'm going to go for just start the comments while you're answering. Yeah.
I think the three that I would pick would be Jose's 2003 team or whatever, the one that conceded 15 goals. I'd pick like Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo team, and I'd have to go with this Man City team. It's very difficult to say which one would win in a game, but I think that our team and Jose's team, who's probably a little bit better than this Man City team. Maybe that's just bias and because it was so long ago, but I'm not sure that they can cope with... I think the defending is too good from those two teams compared to what we see now, which is something we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, for sure. All right, quickly, let's go through the comments. I've managed to star them up. I do agree with you, by the way. You named some teams that I think are special, like that Mourinho team. I felt that was... At the time, I felt there was a team that couldn't get beat, and we'd never conquer them again. But obviously, we did. Solo in the house said, "Yes, eye test. Ten Hag is done out here." Okay. Stephanie Griffiths, how you doing? She said, "Our first transfer of the summer must be the current number 10 gone. We are effectively playing with 10 men when he's on the pitch, particularly going forward and offers nothing defensively. Time's up." That's Bruno, I think, isn't it?
That's Rashford.
Oh, Rashford. She's talking about. Okay. Andrew Williams, how you doing, Andrew? This week, I've been mostly eating fruit salads. Good on you. That's good. I'll tell you a story about this afterwards about what I've been up to. Andrew Williams was saying, angst and discontent should be default mindset for any YouTube channel dweller. Otherwise, you're in the wrong place. Andrew. Evening, says Stephanie Griffiths. Big up to Vincent Bullock. I'm coming to you in a minute now. So we've got a guy called DK Wilson. Where's he from?
He is coming out of the Dust Bowl from Ohio. It's DK Wilson.
The Grapes of Wrath. There was a great fight in New York City. It was Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia.
Oh, that crazy one.
Yeah, it was a really interesting fight. I mean, I was really shocked by the outcome, but yeah.
He's insane, Ryan Garcia. Well,
so maybe that's his gimmick. Who knows? Big up DK Wilson. Big up to Vincent. He's asking, where's Mr. Bay? He's saying in the Burning and Brunning accent. That's how you say it. It's Mr. B, but he says, where's Mr. Bay? I bet he's down the pub celebrating the induction of Andy Cole to the Premier League Hall of Fame. We all know his favourite legend player. Yes, he is. He loves Andy Cole. And if that's true, it's about bloody time Andy Cole got
that inducted. Is true. But also shout out to Mr. B. He's having a terrible time at the moment and isn't feeling very well. And I'm sure he'll watch later. It's the only thing keeping him like on this side of the mortal coil at the moment. So give emojis and all those kind of things to Mr. B because he's such an important part of the channel and he works so hard to deliver good content for you guys. And he could do with a bit of a boost, I feel.
He was in my prayers this morning, by the way. Mr. B, get well soon, bro. We Deserve Better says, hi, guys. What a great day. Looking forward to the eye test. Great to see you all. Great to see you. We Deserve Better. I've got a story about it. I want to look like you soon. Who else? We've got Matthew Bassett in the house. Middlesbrough versus Leeds game. Is that being played tonight? Is that something? Or is that like
so.
A big up tie? All right. From the past. Bill Baggio, you're welcome back, man. I've seen you sniffing around last few weeks. It's good to have you back, man. Love your insight into the game. And we got Sue 82. How you doing, Sue 82? Long time since we've seen you as well. When Ronaldo was playing for us, we used to big you up and go Sue the celebration. And you're back with us, 82. Great year for music. Great year. My sister was born as well, and you were probably born that year as well. Bloody hell. That's that game. Yeah, she's talking about the game on Sunday. And she's saying here, we are pure drama. Ha, ha, ha. No doubt about it. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. 50% drama, 50% horror, says Andrew Williams. Matthew Bassett saying here, how's your game in the weekend, bath time in the Monday? Shall we ignore that and move on, yeah?
No, Matty, I'm out for the rest of the season because of my encephalitis. So I'm not allowed to head the football. And I think Amonde is raging about what happened in his match at the weekend. So it's up to him. He doesn't want to talk about it.
All right. Stephanie saying United, okay, the 1914, that was with Hughes, Cantona, Ince, Kanchelskis, Giggs, Alistair Bruce, Irwin, and maybe Gary Neville? Or was
Neville's about 95, 96.
Who's right back?
Dennis Irwin, isn't it?
Left back? Dennis Irwin. Who was right back in 84, guys? I think it was...
I was 5.
That's a tough one. Clayton Blackmore, maybe. I don't know. That's a tough one. Invincibles, they need to be put up there. Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, says DK Wilson. Ryan Garcia is a knob, but a good fighter, says Andrew Williams. Well done to him. Well done. He won the fight. That's the most important thing after everything. It's the way. It's the United way. Last minute drama. We've always done it. It's hard work. It's the hard way. In my 46 years supporting the club, I started at the age of 6. 4 years after they came back from being relegated in Division 2. So there you go. You're looking good for an old man. We Deserve Better. Respect to you, bro. Is this a new spin? Our absolute garbage performance is the United way. Mr. B, get well soon. Buddy, that's Stephanie Griffiths. Thank you. And DK Wilson saying, what, Mr. B, summer in power for you. And there you go.
Emojis, lads. Don't make him read. Just give him pictures.
Echo, love to Mr. B. Get well soon, brother. And don't forget, he was on Saeed's channel the other day, wasn't he? Representing for the Man United agenda.
Oh man, I couldn't watch it.
Why not? Why not?
Because, obviously, right, with all these guys, Mr. B is of an older generation, and I think he carries himself with much more sort of respect and social skills. Yeah. And when a bunch of people, I'm such a snob. But I don't think you can talk about players unless you've done 5 pre-seasons with any confidence.
Yeah.
And so when someone challenges Mr. B, and I know Mr. B lives football, you know, he's out with his team or his young lad and all this sort of stuff. And I think that they're all role players and stuff like this. And I find it, I don't like it when people who I think are bullshitters start bullshitting at my friend Mr. B, because it annoys me. It annoys me a lot.
But I must say, like, there's a lot of channels on Man United, and these Saeed, respect to him.
I think he's all right, Saeed, to be honest.
He gets numbers, and he's doing a good job, because I think he's full time now, based on the numbers he gets. He's got like the whole Somali community behind him. He's got the whole generation who talk like Dora, saying bear this, bear that, you know.
Yeah.
I think. So, respect to them. I mean, obviously we're an older generation, but it's great that he invites Mr. B on the show, and to get that sort of insight from Mr. B, and I think it gives a good balance as well. But I think Saeed's doing really well, and big up to him, guys. I know.
Yeah, I didn't like him,
but respect to those guys.
Like when I just saw clips of Saeed, I wasn't a big fan of his, but like having sort of seen him recently, he's a perfectly nice gentleman with like the ability to converse socially.
Very smart. Very smart, I think. With what he knows what he's doing to build his platform, everything he's doing really well. Like that. Yeah.
It's just not my it's not my kind of thing, that, because like what I find the Monday, right, is that people like when you go back to ancient Greece and sort of Plato, Aristotle, Democles, people like this, the whole point was that discussions would lead to a better understanding of the truth.
Yeah.
And so tonight we're going to talk about defenders and stuff. And I am of the opinion that like defending is a fairly basic thing, but I'm going to speak to you, an ex-professional defender, and I'm going to learn a little bit more. And I'm not trying to prove anything or try and win and stuff, but I find on these outrage channels, it's mainly about point scoring instead of trying to develop an understanding of football. And I find it very frustrating that the currency seems to be someone got cooked or someone won a fight or something like that, instead of sort of maybe getting to the conclusion that defending isn't a race, or that, you know, why are we set up a certain way? There's no real sort of like, no one's ever trying to get to the bottom of anything. They're just trying to prove points. And I find it a little bit sickening, really, that that's so popular.
Someone who was a good defender, he's only like 5'7" or maybe maximum. Paul Parker, he was the guy who was at right back. Thanks, guys, in the comments, referring to who was the right back in the 1994 team. It was Paul Parker, and what a fantastic player he was. When you see some of the tackles and what he used to deal with, he used to play centre back for QPR, and then he went to right back. He could play. He was versatile, but he was a proper player. And when you're taller than him by half time, and this guy was playing an era when the ball was up in the air.
Yeah, I'm not that short, Amonde. Just for people.
I know. Yeah, I'm just trying to, just in case you didn't know how tall he was. But yeah, big up to Paul Parker. Do you want to say as well, when you keep saying I'm professional, you know, I played in a professional league, all right, but I wasn't like I would never walk around saying I was pro or anything like that. All I was saying, I was trained. I playing around. I was training with pros. I was in everything, you know, in New Zealand, and it gave me an insight into what it takes to be a pro. But when I come back to England, I could have kicked on and gone on. I had offers to do things, but I refused because I was too damn lazy, and I didn't have the guts to actually go out and do it.
If only I'd known you then on Monday, I'd have been so good for you.
You would have, most certainly. I needed a kick up the backside. And I was smoking as well. It's terrible, yeah. But we don't want to live with regret. But I will say this, not to blow my own trumpet or anything. Being around that kind of environment, I realized all you need is fitness. Well, all I needed was the fitness, and I could compete with these guys. I felt that. That's why I was confident. It's funny enough, talk about the FA Cup. If I would have come back and gone the route which I was asked to do, I would have been playing maybe for Yeading against Newcastle in the FA Cup, fourth round in January 2000 with Davis and the boys. But there you go. Just tell.
Right. Should we just say from now on we played in professional leagues?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't want people to say, "Oh, you think you're pro or whatever."
Yeah.
I've never claimed that. Okay. Let's move on. Big up Stuart Marshall, by the way. Thanks, Stuart Marshall. Can I just say this quickly? Sorry, bath time. Stuart Marshall went to the game yesterday at Wembley. sent me images, sent me pictures. Really good video with Rio Ferdinand as well. Who was taking pictures with young kids and all that. It's lovely. You got great seats there, Stuart, and it must have been a great experience for you. Hopefully, we're going to get you on the show soon, and you can tell us all about it. But what a fan Stuart is. I love your passion, bro. Okay. All right.
You don't want to... Do you watch any fan channels, Monday, apart from us?
It's hard to get the time to do it. I watch Stretford Paddock. It comes up on when you open your YouTube, the ones that you're subscribed to usually come up, pop up. So because of our relationship with Jay and that, Stretford Paddock, I watch that from time to time, and I also watch Saeed TV because of our relationship with him, you know. And Rich Sports, big up Rich Sports, big up. We used to be in a WhatsApp group where everyone used to like each other's stream. It's like good community. It's a good thing to do with Brush and all that kind of thing. So but I've come out of that since Solo's left. I've had to come out of it. It's too much. So I used to like everyone's stream. We're doing a show, put it in, give us a like, that sort of thing. I know I should do. It's like I know you should do it, but I've come out of that. It was a bit too.
I came out of one. I was in one, and there was a Newcastle fan. And I think everyone knows I dislike Newcastle quite a lot, but every day it was just begging to like the video. And it used to be like a sort of discussion group for ideas and things like that. And it just became like the video stuff. And to anyone who watches, like as long as your time is well spent, I don't care about numbers or likes or whatever. It's a community. Like, so as long as you're enjoying yourself, you don't have to do anything.
Bartham, which channels do you watch then? If you watch any, do you watch any channels out there?
I watch a bit of Rich. I watch my friends more than like sort of channels and stuff like that. I'll occasionally watch things like I watch clips of the United stand. I only really watch the Stretford Paddock when Andy is on, like as he's, you know, as we have a relationship with Andy and stuff. But I tend not to watch them, as I find that the knowledge of most of these channels is extremely poor.
Just want to say what was poor. This is good. Sigmund Judge, how you doing, Sigmund? I haven't seen you for ages, man. I hope you're doing well. You and the family. Saying love these shows. Been quietly watching. Thanks. There you go. Giving us $1.99.
Very, very sweet of you, Sigmund. Thank you very much.
Sigmund's a good dude, man. We had him on the show, didn't we? Sigmund, you've been on the show a couple of times.
I think he's been on. If I remember correctly, Sigmund might have a sort of a quite professional podcast about Apple and computers and things, and he turned up to Mr. B's Takeaway with equipment that shamed everyone, like the mic, the webcam, like everything. He looked like a proper grown up with everything in order, and then like Anthony Herbert was sort of falling around his room.
Big up Sigmund. Thanks for the $1.99. Really do appreciate it. I don't know why you can't round it up to £2. This isn't I don't know. Is there a price list on our show? But thank you. Thank you. All right, just a couple more. Sorry. Uncle Dubious is in the house saying all about good vibes. John as well. He works.
Is he the Asian gentleman that went to Old Trafford recently? Like, is he like Chinese or Korean or something like that?
I know who you're talking about. The American guy. Yeah, I forget his name.
He was at Carrington, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I've never seen him, but I like good vibes.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of shows with him. He's a really funny guy. All about good vibes, John. Oh, no. He worked with Paddock and View as well. He's a staunch, positive lad like myself. Big up Uncle Dubious. KG cracks me up as well. He's a comedian, KG, isn't he? Brush is good friends with him. Paddock has become a bit lazy for me. So, okay, it's interesting to discuss what's going on with channels, what people like and what's tune into. Here we go. Stephanie's saying I would also watch Webby and O'Neill. I've seen these guys.
Shout out to Jeff. Webby was actually going to come on the agenda for an interview, but Jeff got sick and we haven't followed it up. But maybe I should follow that one up. But those two they're a bit like Andy Tate in terms of they're proper on the ground soldiers that are just saturated in everything United. Like, I think Webby might have been the guy that was looking after Neville and Bex. Do you remember in that famous photo of them in the away end?
No.
Like they went for an away game when they were injured or something, and I think it was Webby that was the one doing their security.
All right. Yeah, they're proper Manx, aren't they? So yeah, I've watched them a few times. Really, it's good to get their sort of insight of the game as well. So big up Stephanie with that one. DK Wilson's saying here, Alice does really try. Alice is good. Yeah, respect to her. Gold Bug and crew making it all. Rants and bants can be good, but can stink in banter. There's another guy who does a show alone, a good guy as well. That's DK Wilson. So DK Wilson's watching a lot of this stuff from the States. Sigmund's judge saying, yeah, live stream. It was. I've got the setup now, recovering from heart attack, but back soon for shows if you're up for it. Wow.
It's more if you're up for it, to be honest, Sigmund. Like, if you can, like, I wouldn't be watching Ten Hag's Manchester United, like, at the moment, to be honest. I'll tell you what, if, like, this summer, like, with the Euros and stuff like that, we're very up for, like, anyone sort of, like, popping in and things. So if you, like... If you do think, do you know what? I'd love to get on this show and call Darius fat and tell him one day he's deluded. Then you're more than welcome to come and join us and abuse me.
Sigmund, wishing you continued good health and happiness, bro. I'm really sorry to hear that. Just let us know, and we're always in your prayers. Everyone in the community, man, praying for you. Get well soon, and as soon as you're ready, come back on the show. We'd love to see you. Talking about Webby and O'Neill earlier, it was an excellent stream, says Andrew. So he's obviously tuned in tonight. And yes, good vibes, John, Korean American. There you go, Uncle Dubious. Good vibes, John, likes to be known as on Instagram, says Vincent. John Shin, that's the guy, John Shin. Yeah, he's top guy. I've been in a couple of shows with him as well. Really good guy. Best of health to you, Sigmund. There's from Andrew. We see the community is lovely out here. KG, the comedian, does it for me, says we deserve better. He's a proper stand-up comedian as well.
Is he?
Really he's proper stand-up.
Okay.
He does, circuit tour with guys. DK wants to say, true, Paddock has been lacking like some lately. Okay, what do they need? What do the Paddock need to sort of liven things up, do you reckon? Need more Webby on this channel, to be honest, says Sigmund Judge. And Andrew's laughing. Goldbridge as my entry point, and it got really toxic and disrespectful. So I left for Paddock. That got a bit copy and pasting the news. So I went to United View. Love Marcel, KG, Joe Blackman. I don't know Joe Blackman out there. Not sure who that is. A lot of people dislike Stu Howson, but I respect his honesty. I like Stu Howson, but I know he reminds me of someone I wouldn't get on with, I think, in person, because he's been in the army. I never seem to get on with people who've been in the army or very patriotic and have views like that. So that's the only thing that gets me. But I think he's real, and I respect him. That's the most important thing. It's like in Narcos, the second series, the son said to the guys, the line I always try to remember. He said, "I don't like you, but I respect you," or something like that, or the other way around, along those lines. Your thoughts, because they're talking about channels. I know we're drifting away, but just quickly, Barthan, do you want to wrap it up before we get on?
Like with the big one is obviously the United Stand, and I came in. Yeah, that's Goldbridge.
I don't really watch him, but yeah.
Well, I came into football YouTube, I think, like a lot of us did during COVID, because like I was just in Wales running marathons on a treadmill by myself, and I used to watch Goldbridge, and I liked it, and I liked the channel. But I found that all the people I sort of watched and listened to, like, I'll never fault them as sort of content creators or Man United fans or something. But then when the football starts, I find that there is an extraordinary knowledge gap. Like, the very few of them really understand what happens in a football match. And I'm not saying I know everything that happens in a football match, but I have played at a very good standard, and I've trained and done pre-seasons, and it's very clear to me that it's like going to it's like going to your friend for medical advice instead of going to a doctor. I find with a lot of these things, and so I've sort of fallen out of love with a lot of them, because I want to learn things about football and not get told very basic and often incorrect points.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you there. I think everyone wants to talk football, and like I'll tell you, funny, a couple things. Yeah, there's this guy, two new Nigerian guys at work, and the Nigerians love to talk. I don't know, like I'm being it's a stereotypical Nigerian, talks a lot about football and knows everything. So these guys, when I come in, they don't realize I talk football all the time. Obviously, we do the channel. I manage a team. I'm involved in football. I play football. It's every part of my life, and it's been a part of my life for years. So these guys just coming back from Lagos and telling me about. They come in and telling me about the game, and and I'm having to listen to them. And I'm like, please, God. And I want to say, shut the f up, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're coming from Lagos. You watch it on TV, but you got an opinion. But then I realize, I sit back after a couple of seconds of frustration. I sit back and say, let me hear these guys out, because they always want to talk football with me. And what I tend to do is just listen, because they're telling me. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not asking me. It's not a conversation. They're telling me, well, I think this is happening. This is not right.
Oh, no oppressions, please.
It's like, no. I know. Ten Hag should be doing this. Back in so that's how they talk to me. They're telling me about it. And I'm thinking, Brad, don't you know? And one of the guys, Ade, he works for me. Big up Ade. I don't know if you watch it, but he came to play with my side. A lovely guy, a really nice guy, 27 years old. And he loves football. Loves, like all Nigerians, they love football. So he came to play. I said, because he's working with me, I said, "Oh, do you want to come and play football?" He said, because he wants to make friends as well, because he's here on his own. So I said, "Yeah, come to our football team." I played him in a couple of games, and he saw I was at work. I'm very professional, but when I was managing him, he wasn't doing anything. He'd never played the game before. He was all over the place. He was a midfielder. And Ali, what the F you doing, Ali? And then, so now he's like, he said to one of my colleagues, Zach's really aggressive. Zach's really, that sort of thing. But like I say, what I have to respect, everyone's got the right to talk about football, whether you're right or wrong, opinions, whatever. It's great conversation. I'm there for it, but sometimes I don't want to be told something by somebody who maybe you should have some sort of respect to say, "Oh, what about this? What do you think about this? Or what do you think about the game?" Give something back. That's how you have a conversation. Not say, "This is what he should have done." Thing. So shout out to Andrew and Ade, the Nigerian boys at my work. But yeah, I have to tell the truth.
All right. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to talk a little bit about defending today, and this is sort of more general stuff. Like, we did a show on strikers last week, and we're basically doing a similar thing on defenders. And Amonde will be probably the best defender that you know, to be honest. So it's worth listening to what he says. But feel free to. Oh no, Amonde, do you see the PowerPoint? You have to add that, because I've had my access revoked.
Not on purpose, guys. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put it up. Here we go.
All right. What makes a defender? Okay. So first of all, I want you to think about what you need physically, then the mentals, and then what sets a good defender apart from a great defender. And right at the end here, we're going to rank all these defenders.
Woo!
And there's one here in particular that I think is incredibly underrated as a defender and should be given far more respect. But we'll get back to that. So these are all the things that we've got for you. So Amonde, talk to me about what you need to be a great defender.
Well, you've got it up here. Physicality. I think that's one thing. You need to, with so many quick, fast strikers and wingers, you need to be physically their match or their equal or even better, stronger than them in all departments. Whether it's height. Sorry?
Do you?
Yeah, I think so. You need to be physically strong. You need to win headers. You need to be quick. You need to be able to read the game. Let me focus on physicality. You need to be strong, quick, and powerful, as in like winning headers and tackles, and brave, because you're the last line of defense, it all comes down to you. So I think the physical side is very, very important. The mental side is underrated. I never used to rate it that much, but as you get older, you realize how easy you can make a game for yourself if you've got good mentality, and that mentality comes with communication as well. That's key as defenders, because as defenders, you see the whole game. You should be able to read the game, dictate to the midfielders where you want to be on a piece of string, like a puppet master. You should be able to dictate, and this is what good defenders do. They talk their team through the game because they've got the vision. They can see things. And then what sets a great from good, I think, is the leadership, the communication, the understanding, and the wisdom. It's important. You can have a guy like I'm trying to think of a defender physically. Who's the guy from Bayern Munich? Ottoman, what's his name?
Otamendi,
No,
De
Munich.
Ligt,
No,
Beckenbauer,
no,
Sammer,
Bayern Munich. He's playing for Bayern Munich now. French international.
Upamecano.
Yeah. What's his name?
Dayot Upamecano.
Upamecano. He's physically just a beast. Let me know. I'll give you another example of someone who's a beast. And Michael Dubry and another former Chelsea defender who's playing for West Ham now, Zuma.
Yeah.
Those two defenders physically have got everything it takes. But I think what separates them from being great is mentality and communication and wisdom. That's where I think they're
great.
Lacking being from good to a great defender.
I used to think Curtis Davis and Ugo Ekiog had everything to be world-class defenders. Like, they were both Villa players, and I saw them play live when I was maybe 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah.
And they were monsters. But you're right, they're not as I don't know if it's consistency or what it is, but they're not as good as others. And why I asked you about the physical stuff is that you said originally you had to be stronger, faster. You had to be more physical than the other player. I don't believe that. I think that you need to be able to match and compete. But defenders are not the fastest. They're not the strongest. Well, they can be the strongest, but they're traditionally not the fastest, are they?
True. That's very true.
All right. So the next part of the slide is to get us thinking, right? About Ledley King is on that list, by the way, Andrew. Actually, let's have a look at some comments, because I've noticed We Deserve Better has been sending some things.
Okay, so We Deserve Better saying we asked about attributes, vision, perception. That's a great word, perception. So you were saying about reading Casemiro doesn't judge distances.
Yeah.
Perception is very key as a defender as well. That's a good shout. We deserve better. Balance, yes, most certainly. Reactions and being decisive. That's brilliant. We deserve better. Are you a defender? Because you just he
can be very defensive. We deserve better if you say something he doesn't like.
I know a guy that I rate in the last. That's Vincent Company. I love his leadership, calm and assured. Yeah, Vincent's one of the best for me. Andrew is saying the likes of Cellini, Baresi, Ayala, Poyul, Pepe, love those type of defenders. I think Pepe is slightly different to the other guys.
I think Poyol, Pepe, and Chiellini are similar in terms of aggressive first out ones. Ayala's not a name that I had considered, but was an absolutely outstanding defender. I think that Sergio Ramos should probably be in that kind of list as well. Like, he's one of the greatest centre backs that I've ever seen. Okay. He's won everything. But actually, right, instead of doing the situations, we'll come back to these, because all this was going to be about is what as a defender do you do in these things. But I made a little list of what I thought were the basics of defending today. So we talk about this a lot. Is that in football you defend the space, the ball, or the man, right? There's nothing really else that you can defend. But with defending, I think that there's three kind of styles. You're defending individually, so this is a one-on-one. You're defending as a pair with your other centre back, or you're defending as a unit with left back, midfielder, and things. Is this correct, Amondo? This is just really basic.
It's common sense. It's common. The pair, it's brilliant. Once again, I don't know. When you do your homework, you really go in, but you're always on point. Individually, yes, one-on-one duels. As a pair, you do work in units. I was watching Man City warming up the other day, their defensive drills. All 4 of the guys were like touch tight together and just going forward, coming back, looking left and right. You know, it's like they used to say you have to be on the piece of string. So in pairs, you go over as a pairs or as a unit. It has to be like in sync with one another. So that's a great point you're making there.
So this is the first thing that I kind of think is that a great defender will elevate the people around him in his unit and in his pair. Like, we're going to talk a bit about Van Dijk a little bit later, but I remember when Jay went on the overlap, Neville was talking about what player he'd take from Liverpool. And he said Van Dijk, and he didn't talk about his reading of the game or anything like that. He said it's because Van Dijk will talk and he'll lead and he'll get that back four together. And this probably is one of the big problems that people have with Maguire and Monday is that I think everyone can see he's a good defender, he's a good club man, and he's good to have in your side. But does he command his centre-back partner? Does he command his unit and things like that? That's something I'd like to see Maguire begin to show us a little bit more. You've leant back defensively. You look like you're about to head something. What's going on there?
I want to relax in my chair. And when I'm hearing slander on Maguire,
it's not slander. It's how he came
I know,
through.
I'm joking, but like I'm taking it in. I'm just thinking about it, and yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's some more stuff. This is what I think 90% of defending is that you've got to apply pressure to the ball or the man. Right. So if you think of like Rasmus Højlund, when the ball gets played to him, if you apply pressure to him, he normally loses the ball. And you also so that's what I mean by applying pressure to the ball or man. And then Jesus Christ. Hello, Drochen. I don't think we've met before, but you've come in with one hell of a stat. Ramos has scored about 1 in 7 for Real Madrid.
Can I just say, don't forget about Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman is top scoring defender, centre back of all time. This guy, you've seen some of his free kicks, and he's not his penalties. Flipper. His free kicks, he would boom like from distance. He scored in the Champions League final. He won it for Barcelona against Sampdoria in '92. But throughout his career, I think he's underrated. Won Champions League with PSV as well in '87, I think it was, '88. You know, what a player! I mean, maybe not the best defender, pulling down David Platt and getting caught out for pace a couple of times, but his passing, his quarterback passing from the back, and his goal scoring was a phenomenon. If I can get the words out, what a player for me! Ronald Koeman sitting with someone else would always be my greatest centre back.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, as Dora says that because I'm half Spanish. I'm a Spanish passport holder. That I am incredibly biased towards her most hated nation. But Sergio Ramos is genuinely, I think you have to look at him and Van Dijk as being the best defenders of the last decade. I know Chiellini's up there as well, but as Andrew says, Ramos was scoring last-minute equalisers against Letty in finals and things. But anyway, just before we get on to the fun and more interactive stuff, 90% of defending is applying pressure correctly, covering space for your unit. So if your man goes to apply pressure, you've got to fill that space in. And also you need to kind of be pulling your left back, your central midfielders in and around you to remain compact. We have any issues here?
No, I certainly agree with everything you're saying right now.
Anything to add?
Covering space for unit, maintaining spaces to remain compact. Yeah, and concentration because to do this is hard. It's more taxing, I think, physically. I think you'll say 90% of defenders doing these 3 pointers here, but to continue to concentrate and do that throughout a whole game is very.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that this is what you got to do.
My point is that you say 90% of defending is that. I think 90% of defending is mental concentration and applying these 3 factors. Okay. Like applying pressure and keep maintaining your shape and everything else. That takes a lot of concentration. If one player, it's not just down to you. Van Dijk's great one-on-one. I've seen Mbappe try to take him to the bridge and he's dealing with it. But Liverpool still can see goals because he can't always manage his back four unit. So that's the most important thing. Is about covering space for your unit. The unit is the key word that you keep using, and it's so true.
And if you bring up DK Wilson's comment, where he's mentioned Rio Ferdinand, I have deliberately, it's the latest one, I've deliberately not put any Man United players in this because I don't think that we can discuss them without being biased. Because like Rio, Stam, Vidic, Bruce, Pallister, like all of them, in Ronnie Johnson, they're all gods to us. And if we talk about them as defenders, I don't think that we'll really get to the heart of what sort of defending is. I think we'll become a bit player FC and our loyalties and things. But this is just, I've done a new thing, emergency defending. This is actually kind of what you do as a midfielder. So I'm not sure if it's the same for a defender, but emergency defending is when numbers are equal or they have a +1, right? So this is basically transitions, counterattacks. What you've got to do as a midfielder is you have to give up the space, which means dropping back. Okay, like because it's even or they have one more, you can't go and challenge. If you go and challenge and you don't win the ball, this is Casemiro's big problem with slide tackling. You put so much pressure on the rest of the defense. So I was wondering if like defending 1v1 as a unit is the same for a midfield as it was for a defensive unit, Amondo, where you're looking to stay in shape, not overcommit and force attackers into wide areas.
Yeah, I think it is. Just I'm going to revert back to what I saw yesterday on our Sunday team. We were playing a team. Contrast between first and second half was massive. In the second half, I said regarding defending, where the other team had a lot of the ball, I said I didn't want my midfielders getting dragged out of their position to go and close things down. There was a time and space, time to do that, but I wanted the attackers who were blowing, two big units we had play up front, running anything in defense, any defenders bringing the ball out, you guys had to deal with that. I didn't want the midfielders coming out of their shape to do that. And I had to say this from the sidelines, but the defenders had to organize this as well. And the same applies to defenders. We lost the game in the end because defenders were not confident on the ball. They weren't communicating properly. They were getting too opened up. They didn't understand what they needed to do to manage the game and see it out. So I think it was a whole team issue, but the defenders should be leading. Because we're on the back foot. This time, the defensive unit, someone at the back should be communicating and leading and letting people know and reassuring the team how we want to set ourselves up. Because if you get a few blocks in and you keep resisting this team from playing through you, and you get more confidence from that. You know you're doing the right thing. But when you haven't got an idea of what you're doing, you're going to lose shape, you're going to lose focus, and no one's going to believe in you. So you do need defenders, once again, to lead with communication is so important to run that through your team and get confidence. Otherwise, a whole team can just lose their confidence and lose desire and will. And then you concede one goal, and then suddenly the game's over because the momentum switches completely. So there's so many things going on in a football match.
Yeah, I found we often bring up the year I bottled the league in Chilean Development League, but all of this rings true where we stopped playing as a team, started playing as individuals, where no one wanted to make a mistake and weren't covering each other properly and stuff like that. And it seems to me that the constant that is coming from you is communicating where players need to be. And that suggests to me that that's about defending space.
Yep, exactly that.
Okay. All right. Now let's get on to pre-defending, right? Which is essentially body shape. So this is something that I do a hell of a lot, right? Which is you want to be side on as long as possible and take short little steps, because that means if someone goes one way, it's very easy to sort of cover and so on. Like, you basically, I suppose what I'm saying is you want to defend with your hips. Like, you want your cock pointing at that ball, right? That's how you want to be, like sort of shoulder on. And one thing that's really important is you don't want to favor one side. So if, for example, this happened to me once when where I had a slightly dodgy left ankle at the time. I would defend more on my right hand side, because to take that contact, to deflect a shot, to put a challenge in, I wanted to go in with my right legs, it would hurt less. And I found that it was impeding how I defended. So you've got to be, as much as you've got to be 2-footed on the ball, I think you've got to be 2-footed off the ball as well. Yeah?
Yeah, interesting. That Andrew Williams saying here, is pre-defending what happens shortly before you defend?
Yeah. It's how, so pre-defending, right, to me, is that like, I've talked about this so often, but there was a film I watched once called Final Destination, and it's about if you haven't seen it, it's a great film. It's basically you're getting killed by coincidences, and they'll go into like a hardware shop, into B&Q, and eventually a nail will kill them, but in the most ridiculous way possible. So you have to be able to see the danger and to see all those little domino effects that can come on. And this for me is sort of pre-defending, where what you're doing is the ball might be with their left back or something like that, and you're on the right-hand side, but you have to be anticipating that you're going to be in a defensive situation. You have to prepare yourself for it. So you will adjust your body and you'll adjust your position on the pitch to give you the best chance of defending a situation before it happens. So that's what I say pre-defending is. It's getting ready for the act. It's like, it's like pre-drinks, isn't it? Like before you go out on a big night, you do pre-drinks. This is pre-defending. You're getting ready, you're in a good mood, you've got a bit of Pitbull on, the girls around. It's a lovely time.
Just want to say, Bilal is probably having a bit of Final Destination moment here. He swears he's watched this eye test many times before. So yeah, coincidences and domino effect is happening. What happens next? Do you go to bed, fall asleep on the sofa?
What, pre-drinks?
Yeah. I don't know. Big up Bilal. How you doing? Who was the last teenager? Says Bart. Who's the last teenage defender that truly burst into the spotlight in the Premier League? A lot of people say Michael Richards. He says that, doesn't he?
Well, this is the thing, really, isn't it? That like defenders don't really burst onto the scene, because what you need to do is you need to harness your physicality with your experience and stuff like that. Like defending is probably the thing that benefits the most from experience. So it's very rare to see a defender come on and just like instantly boss games and things. I mean, like Van Dijk was messing about at Celtic and Southampton and all these other clubs before he managed to pull it all together and become a great defender. I've no idea what Maldini and Nesta and the rest of the lads were up to when they were 21 or something, but defenders tend to peak at sort of 27 or 28 because that's where they're at their physical best, and they've got a huge amount of understanding and experience of how to deal with situations.
Good stuff. Yeah, they're saying, I mean, yeah, like a really good answer there, Bartone, about experience. You at 16, 17, you might be a good defender, but big contrast coming into the Premier League and doing the business. It's been very rare that I've seen that. There's a guy, John Charles. Do you remember him?
Of course not. He's from the 1950s, Amonde. He was a centre-back striker.
Yeah. So he was. He could play anywhere on the pitch, and he was a massive guy.
Great in Red Dwarf.
Charles. That's Charles. No,
that's Craig Charles.
Craig Charles. Good one. He's a DJ now, isn't he? Yeah, John Charles, great player. He's a great defender, but he can transfer himself to.
Yeah, but right, Amonde, use Dion Dublin. We can't be talking about players from the 1950s. If you want to talk about Chris Sutton.
Paul Warhurst. Yeah, Paul Warhurst for Blackburn. He could play centre back and striker as well. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just trying to basically say that these guys,
let's move on.
As strikers, you would know how to play as centre back. because you're up against good strikers, and Dion Dublin and Paul Warhurst and Sutton were good examples of that. Anyway, yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on. Right, central centre back versus wide centre back. This is what some people think is like new football, but has been. I mean, it's just the football that I grew up with. I've got 3 players here that I all think are pretty good. Like, can you know who they are from the pictures? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right. So we've got Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, and Antonio Rudiger. First of all, I want you to tell me who is, in your opinion, the best defender there and why. Give me pros and cons for each one, then.
I would say Ruben Diaz, obviously he's come from Benfica, came into the Premier League and into a good side, that being not Chelsea, Man City. And I think that sometimes you can just fit in because everything's so organised and well done. But he's proved to have good defensive skills, good communication, good leadership skills, but never really has to go to ground, never really under pressure because they've got the ball a lot of the time. Ake, same thing applies, but he's gone from Chelsea to Bournemouth, done the rounds, proved himself to, done the hard work, even though he looks like Ruud Gullit's son. I'm sure there's some relation there. He's come into I never thought he was good. We discussed this a while ago, didn't we? I never thought he was that good a defender, but you said he was, and you've proven to be right. He is.
I said he reminded me of Maldini.
Oh wow, there you go.
Just the way he holds himself. He's nowhere near as good, but his body shape, the way he addresses situations, stuff like that.
So he's proved that. But once again, he's playing for Man City now, and he's playing really well. And he can play in wide areas. He can play centrally as well. He's good on the ball. But I just think physically, you can get to him. The other guy now, Rudiger, he came from Germany, he went to Chelsea, and he's an absolute monster. And I love him because he is a psycho, an absolute psycho of a player. He would look at someone, size you up, say, you ain't getting the best of me, and I will take you on today. And he would talk, I can imagine he would talk to the strikers, intimidate them, and rough them up during the game, and really take players.
What did you say to strikers on Monday? Did you have
when I was, I think I'll be honest with you, like I used to have battles, like real battles. I used to really lose it. This is the time when if you strung someone up, you get sent off, where you wouldn't get sent off. So I used to be able to get away with stuff. I'm not a bully. You know me, Bath Time. I'm a big guy, but I'm a nice guy. But when I had to use, I realized after some bad experiences on the football pitch where I've come off nearly crying because I've been completely done, old man. I realized I had to use my physicality as a tool. And I think Rudiger's got the same thing. So I used to really rough people up. I used to tell them they talk to them in the ear, saying you ain't getting a sniff. When I tackle someone or beat them to the ball, it would work. And I realized, this is my way to get through. Now, obviously, I would have to pick and choose my battles because I'd come up against some guys who were really going to skin me and scare the life out of me. But I would try to, those times I'd just be moody, or make them. What I would do little tricks like if we're running with the ball or I beat him to the ball, I wouldn't breathe. I breathe out my nose so he wouldn't think I'm blowing, sort of thing. Because it's a battle, isn't it? It's a battle. So, or I'd be walking around, whatever, and at this time I was really strong. I used to do weights, and I was really benching a lot of really heavy weights. I was super strong. I was lean and strong, so I could hold you off like that with one arm, and you wouldn't move. I'd say stay there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So little things like that would intimidate strikers. It's about the most. I sometimes I would get to a situation where I come up, not push the referee to the point where I wouldn't get sent off, but I would do enough to show that I'm ready to have it. So then I'd find people back away from me. So that would help my game. And this is what Rudiger does really well. I think he's a psycho. I think he's a nice guy behind that, and I think every player would love to have someone like him in his team. He will take people, the top striker, out the game, just from being a brute and a monster. And fans would love him. If you're a supporter of a club with him in the team, you're gonna love him. And if you're a player in his team, you're gonna love him too, because this guy he's maximized all the potential he's had, and I want to congratulate him because he's the best defender. Because he's got all the attributes the others, like the mental side of things. He's an absolute monster.
It's
And I think that's what
interesting.
makes him the best.
Interesting you say that, because even though I would understand if people said he's just a deluxe Eric Bailly, I would say he's the best defender there, because I like his shithousery. I remember in the World Cup, he was taking the piss out of the Japanese a lot, and they ended up losing that game, amusingly. But Rudiger is the best player there in both wide and central areas. Like, he has the ability to match his stride the way that Upamecano did to monster Rashford in games. And I think that as a box defender, which is what you're looking for from a central centre back, he can command the box, he can get to the ball first, he can apply the right amount of pressure without giving away penalties and things. And the reason I brought up central centre backs versus a wide centre back is that this summer we're going to be linked to bloody everyone. We're going to be linked to Debo, Branthwaite, like Max Kilman, my mate. Shout out to my mate; he's done really well recently. We're gonna be linked to everyone, and I think that what's important to sort of remember is that players like Maguire are central centre backs. Players like Rafa Varane are wide centre backs, and it's important to understand that there's different ways to use them and different skills they need to have. And when I look at Martinez, I don't know if I know he's not a wide centre back. Like, when he's been showed up, like I saw Dan James do him at Fulham, we saw Salah do him at Anfield. We've seen that Martinez has problems in wide areas. Is he good enough to be a central centre back when you need all that physicality, that height, that aggression? I think it's an interesting question to ask, but I'm more interested in what the comments have to say.
Well, you asked, this is a good one, isn't it? I think the participation is good. When you ask a question of these three guys, who's the best? So Andrew Williams is saying Diaz. Bilal's gone for Rudy. Talking about the middle guy, I'm sure, as in...
No, Rudiger.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about Ruud Gullit in the middle there.
No.
Rudiger looks like a monster, says Bart. Dweezer Bet said, love Rudiger, pace, perception, strength, and agility. Bart's talking about why...
I've got a question for Bart, actually.
Go ahead.
I was thinking for some summer content, it would be amazing to get Bart on a show where he lists his top 10 trolls that have got him banned from other channels. Like, and we can vote which was his best one. We'd lose a lot of subs, but I think it would be very funny.
Andrew Williams is saying he prefers Akanji to Ake. Akanji is the new guy that can play anywhere. Very impressed with him. Rudiger only became good when Chelsea switched to a back three, says Matty.
Yeah, but Matty, he's ended up at Real Madrid, and it's a bit like Koulibaly or Thomas Tuchel or something like that. There are people you might not rate in football, but they always seem to go to the top places. And you've got to ask yourself, why has Rudiger, over every other centre-back, been the one to go to Real Madrid? Is it economics? Is it availability? Or does he have something that maybe you underrate that everyone think, that the top football clubs think is important?
So Andrew's saying here, yes, prior to Madrid, Rudiger could only play in the back three. But since then, he's played at Madrid. He's been amazing, isn't he? Dragon is saying, Rudiger for me, he loves to defend. I love a centre-back. Here's what I wish Eric Bailly was. His matchup versus Erling Haaland in Champions League recently was beautiful. Thanks, Dragon. That's a good comment there, bro. On point.
I think that's a great point about Eric Bailly. He fits in with Ugo Ekiog, Curtis Davis, Jean Allen Boumsong, players that were absolute physical monsters, but for some reason they never became elite centre backs.
Yeah.
And I'm less disappointed with signings like Eric Bailly than I am Victor Lindelof, because I think Eric Bailly had the ceiling to become the best centre back in the world with that physicality.
Yeah. Okay, DK Wilson saying, have to agree about Rudiger's presence is there. I love when DK does the capital letters. There. but he can be so subtle that he just appears in the correct space at the right time, kind of thing. Real always rinsed the Premier League. That's from Bart, serious fan.
Yeah, he is a serious fan. All right, what have we got next? Right, Amundo. Because we're leaving United players out of this, I've picked what most people think are the best two centre backs in the Premier League in Saliba and Van Dijk. I want to ask you and chat, do people agree that these are the two best centre backs? And what is it that sets them apart from everyone else?
All right, so that's a good question for the chat. I'm trying to think, like right now, when you asked me about best, we done for strikers last week, didn't we, on the show? Last time we did a presentation on strikers. I found it hard to find great strikers in the Premier League. Maybe it's one or two. When you go talking about centre backs in the Premier League today, I think Van Dijk had a serious injury. Prior to that, he was amazing. He's still as good. Maybe he's lost a little bit, maybe with the injury, but he's still got the presence of mind. He's got the brain and the experience to play well, and for Liverpool, and for he's just a good player, very good player. Then we got the young Saliba, who's come on leaps and bounds. It's a good partnership he's got. They've got a great record, haven't they, at the moment, with the defensive record for Arsenal. What makes these two, I think they're quite similar, because on the ball, they're very calm. You know what I was saying earlier about I didn't want to breathe too hard around a striker to make him feel that I'm blowing and I'm panicking. I think these guys show that on the pitch. They're very calm on the ball. Situations where you think, oh God, we're in trouble here. They use their physicality well, pinch the ball and come away with the ball calmly, make the right pass. They play at their own pace and they manage.
All right, give me more. I want a little bit more micros here. Like I've left out things like how to use your shoulder distances, like how you can arm people off, the space that you leave, like and also in chat, if you think that this isn't correct, that these aren't the two best centre backs, I want to know why and who is. So Monday, what is the micros that I'm not saying, right, that Maguire is a bad defender at all, but I think these two are better for a couple of reasons. Everyone knows you love Maguire. Do you agree these two are better centre backs than Maguire?
I think Van Dijk is, yeah.
Okay, all right. Tell me why Van Dijk is better and what he does that's better.
I think Van Dijk is a leader. He's got more confidence in what he's going to do, whether in all situations. So you talk about a total package of defender. He ticks all the boxes. So he's got that presence and confidence where people don't want to challenge him. Strikers won't really go for him because it's like intimidation. They don't want to get pinched by him. You look at the one stat that comes up lately with is how many times people get dribbled past. Needs to be on top of the list in the Premier League. Now, I'm not stat, man. Yeah, these two consistently at the top of the league, as in they don't get dribbled past that often. That's what I'm saying. Especially Saliba and Van Dijk. That's what their forte is. So as a striker or forward, you see them about, you're going to pass it off. You're going to think, I can't take this guy on. Whereas Maguire, because he's lacking some confidence, you're going to drive at him. You're going to target him and go for him. You're looking for weaknesses. These guys don't have that weakness. You know, how many times you keep driving these guys, they keep pinching you, they keep taking the ball of you. You talk about the micros, I'm talking about details. They're very similar in respect that they will use their body, they lean on you just enough to get to, and they pace themselves. They will talk about perception, the keyword perception earlier. They will read what you're going to do and then get themselves in a position, use their physicality and then pace, get there first, lean you off the ball, come away with the ball. Not lean you off the ball and crash it out into the row Z. They will lean you off the ball, and what makes it worse is intimidating. They will take the ball off you and come away with the ball and pass it off and get a round of applause. And then you're thinking, my confidence is shot. I don't want to be coming up against this guy again because it's going to be embarrassing. So they're reading the game, their perception, keyword, I love that word today, regarding defenders, and their confidence is growing and growing and growing because very rarely do they make mistakes, and they're so cool and calm and collective in what they do, in taking the ball off defenders. And now I think Van Dijk is a better talker. Obviously, he's leading the line there.
He's a lot older.
Yeah, but Gabriel is talking Saliba through the game. But I think even though Saliba doesn't seem to talk that much, and Gabriel does all the rough stuff, Saliba talks on the pitch with what he does, putting out fires on the pitch. You see it so many times, just putting out fires, getting on with it and passing it. And he's not like got a great range of passing, but he will dribble the ball out, get the ball, pinch it, pass it to someone, and it's always the right pass. It just looks easy. It just looks like he's walking in the park, strolling in the park.
Right. I've got a follow-up here. These players play in high lines for top clubs. There's a reason that they're at top clubs. If Saliba was playing for Everton or if Van Dijk was playing for Luton, would we be able to see their qualities and identify them as top players in the same way that Klopp was able to see that us at Southampton, Van Dijk, who most people thought was an all right centre-back, could become a galvanising figure for Liverpool?
Is that for the okay? So for me, I want you to answer this as well, Bartham. But for me, I think players would always stand out. But the problem is when you're playing in a weaker team, especially for centre backs, it's very difficult to stand out because you can do your job over and over again, but eventually the pressure is going to be too much. Where you're playing in a team that doesn't dominate, and you're really going to be tested to see, can you take the pressure? Can you be in a team that's not good enough, and you're always going to be in the back foot? That's when you really have to show your mettle. So for Saliba, he's coming through the French system. He's come to Arsenal. He's been on loan back and forth to France for a couple of years. Now he's walked into the team, and he's playing in a good setup. Whereas Van Dijk started in Holland, didn't even play for the big clubs in Holland, the big three, went to Celtic, where obviously they're dominating their league, but the football is rough and tough. He's learned to be hard over there. Then he's come to Southampton under a good setup there and playing in the Premier League and sort of weaned his way into the Premier League. Done it the right way, I imagine, for him. Maybe just to get his confidence because he's always a great player. Look at the free kicks he used to hit and all the he's got in his dish. He's got all in the locker. But there was always a question mark. And he's probably done the right moves. His agent's probably done the right move for him. Rather than go straight to a big club, he's worked his way up. And then finally, he's gone to a big club at Liverpool, won the league, won the Champions League, and been voted the best defender in the world. So the progression for him was the right thing for him to do. And you can't fault that, because he could have gone to a club.
Okay. But what I'm asking you, right, is did you, when he was on the market and Liverpool were tapping him up, did you look at him and think that's a top quality centre back?
Yeah, I've always wondered.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always wondered why no one wanted to buy him. When he was at Celtic, I was thinking, why did anyone
he
want to buy
monstered people at Celtic?
Yeah, he was strolling around like the boys against men.
Well, I guess it's because there was a guy at Rangers called Marvin Andrews. I don't know if you know him.
God, yeah.
Big Christian, did his cruciate ligament, did some prayers like Angel Gomez, and came back 2 weeks later from a cruciate knee ligament. But I watched Van Dijk live in an Old Firm derby.
Oh wow!
And I was seriously impressed with him. Like, I remember I watched Rio Ferdinand play Man City versus Leeds a very long time ago, like maybe 2000, 2001, at Main Road of all places. And Rio, I hadn't rated him beforehand, but Rio was just the physicality of the man and how he stood. I was just blown away. Like at the time, like I'd have been like 11 or something, and it was incredible. Right, good comment about Lewis Dunk. We're going to go on to that in a second. But I can see Bart is here. Right, Bart. Okay, I'm going to be very honest with you, mate. You don't know if Maguire scans. When you scan when the ball is moving and so on. And I know that this has become a common thing about Man United players don't scan correctly. Trust me, you don't get to where they are without being able to scan properly. But what I want to ask you, Bart, is the difference between Konate and Van Dijk in how they defend, because it's something I've seen recently that has really informed how I think a defender should defend. Because in my opinion, Van Canate is about defending the space in front of him, which I like, getting out early and being aggressive. But Van Dijk, that running backwards, is always terrified of the space in behind him. It's his number one priority, and I think it's what makes him a better defender.
Have you seen how low he crouches when someone's
Yeah.
driving at him, and he sort of dictates to them where they're going? He gets really low.
That's
like
it.
Shapes his
He's in
body up.
control.
Yeah,
He
and
takes
he's dictating to
control
you
of the
where you're gonna
situation.
go. And he's inviting you to say, "Yeah, you push and go that way. And I've got you," and he usually will. We have the recovery pace to get there, and so he's quite comfortable in situations like that. I've seen it many times against top strikers,
Yeah.
driving at him, and then it's like a psychological thing. You know, it's like,
Well, he gives them a space to attack every
yeah,
time.
exactly.
Like he takes charge of the situation by showing, I am cutting this side off. You're allowed here. Let's see how we get on. And I mean, at the weekend, I saw Maguire all over a guy in the box, all over him. But it was, if a penalty had been given or a free kick had been given, you'd have been like, yeah, I can understand why. I never see that from Van Dijk. I think his body shape is much better. But
yeah, good shout. Good shout.
before we go on, but we're going to finish with this, where I have listed some great defenders, some forgotten defenders, and I've all tried to keep them within 15 years. I want to know who are the standout defenders here, who are the overrated defenders. I kind of want you to rank them, and I want one unsung hero. And that's from chat and from Amonde. So straight off Amonde, there must be a name that jumps out to you there as the best defender.
John Terry, I like John Terry a lot. I think John Terry is one of the best defenders. He could ping a ball left foot, right foot. His leadership's good. He's not got I talked about physicality. He's got it. He seems to win all his headers. He's not the tallest. He wins every header. And talk about spacing behind. He's not the fastest, but he manages his defensive unit, like you said earlier in your earlier slide. The unit he manages well because he's a leader. He talks really well, and that's the kind of captain you need around the club. There's a guy that John Terry's bigging up at Chelsea right now, another wannabe centre back who's coming through the ranks. He likes him so much because he reminds him of Terry because he talks so well. Obviously, Terry was influenced by Desai, and he came into the side at Chelsea when they were starting to become good, and he learned a lot from these guys. And I think John Terry is really, regardless of what people think of him personally or whatever's happened, I rate him as one of the best defenders in the Premier League and in this list as well.
All right, really, if we go one by one through them, and you tell me what you think. Let's go horizontally. Gabriel at Arsenal.
Nah.
All right, why?
I'm not having him. All right, he's got good character like Rudiger. He's a monster like that. But I'm not having him. He makes too many mistakes. It's always, remember pre-season when Sancho ran through and scored? The ball was played up high. He was on the halfway line. And all he had to do is bring it down and just play football. And he fluffed it. And I've seen that many times from Gabriel. He's got a mistake in him. And I think he's a bit gangly. You talk about body shape and all that. Mm-hmm. Remember when we beat him 3-1 at Old Trafford? Gabriel was the one. He was manhunting. A bit like you were saying about Konate on the front foot. He's trying to manhunt. And you can play triangles around this guy and get in beyond him. So I think he's not developed. I think he's an accident waiting to happen. But I like his mentals.
So it's an interesting point. Is that like Gabriel defends the man more than the space, as it were. Terry was brilliant at every aspect of defensive play, but I would say he was more about space than about man. Like just off like how many blocks. Like, there's a very famous clip of him rising like a salmon. Do you know the one in the World Cup, just off the floor? Now, I'm gonna bias this a bit. I think Ricardo Carvalho is one of the most disrespected players the Premier League has ever had, and should always be in the conversation for one of the best centre-halves.
Yeah, for me, he's just like the calmest, coolest guy. How can you come into Premier League, obviously from Porto, and just be magnificent the way he was. He was part of that unit with John Terry,
Yeah.
who conceded 15 goals in the season. But he was graceful. He was, and he had it all. He'd bite you. He'd not bite you, but he'd be tough enough. Because there's always the accusation that foreign defenders can't handle the Premier League. He could easily stroll through games. Him and John Terry, organisation. Obviously, he's coming as Portuguese and into an English club.
What, and left as English?
But communication is key, isn't it? You need to have people on the same page.
I'm going to give you an impossible question, Amondo. Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic, or John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho?
It's going to be Chelsea's too. I prefer them. I'm sorry, but I didn't think Vidic was all that, to be honest. I think Vidic, for some reason, they're talking about Vidic being the best centre back in the Premier League history, and up there, there's a lot of guys in the list that I think are much better than Vidic. Vidic is brave, I'll give him that, but I just don't think his distribution, his calmness. He was playing in a good setup, in a good defensive unit with Rio Ferdinand and the boys, Gary Neville, and good goalkeeper Van der Sar. So I'm not a big Vidic fan, to be fair. But everyone,
I love you, Amondo. I completely agree with you. I think that unfortunately, because of that season where they conceded 14 or 15 goals, there can be no argument that John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho were the best centre-back partnership the Premier League has ever seen. And I know we're on a Manchester United fan channel. I love Vidic. I love Rio. But it's kind of like comparing York and Cole to Ronaldo and Messi in some ways. Like, you just have to, whatever. Yeah, Matty, we'll get on to Ledley King. All right, line 3, Campbell, Dunk, Ledley King. There's only one winner here, isn't there?
Not necessarily. I would say Ledley King is the winner for me. But Sol Campbell, come on. We start with physicality. I mean, very rare you get him struggling off the ball. He was a strong runner, like a big thoroughbred horse, wasn't he?
All right. Why is Tony Adams a better defender than Sol Campbell?
I'm not a big Tony Adams fan. I will say this now. Tony Adams talks a lot of points and does all that, but really he's a calamity, a bit of a donkey, in my opinion. I've not been disrespectful, but with this caliber, you want to be the best. Tony Adams, 1988, he was only young, but he was playing Premier League football. We were banned from Europe. We played in the Euros in '88, and he came up against a guy called Van Basten. And you go and watch that game, a 3-1 game, England versus Holland in the group stages. Tony Adams had a rude awakening. This is what the elite level football is really like, and I don't think he's ever stepped up. Even though he played for Arsenal, the top, best, the back five, whatever they called it. He was a great leader, but I don't think he's the best defender. I've seen, but I know a lot of people in the game like him because of his leadership.
Do you think Campbell was better?
I would prefer, if I'm building a defence, I would probably. Campbell's got his faults for me. Campbell, to me, is miserable on the ball. In today's game, he would probably be playing Championship football, maybe, because you've got guys like Danny Shitu and all these big centre backs who got something about. But obviously, Sol Campbell's got a bit more about him, and but maybe I don't like him personally. I know.
Sorry, Amondo. Are you? I've just seen the time. We're coming up to an hour and 20 minutes. Are you all right to keep going?
Of course, yeah.
All right, okay. All right, then let's do this in detail. Pros and cons of Sol Campbell.
Pros are absolute beast. You're not going to get no change out of him. But the cons are he's the ability on the ball is not very good, and I think you could play triangles around him at the top level. But he's very good. I'm not disrespecting him. Lewis Dunk. Pros are he's consistent. He's played a lot of Championship football. He's come up in the leagues. He's been a consistent player for Brighton, and he's good on the ball. Very good on the ball. Underrated. Reads the game really well. And I think as he's gone up the levels, he's always been the best defender at his clubs at Brighton. Necessarily. So I really rate him, and I'm glad he got England cap recently, but I don't think he's off the level. I think because of when you lack the experience of elite football, he's never played Champions League football. For example. When you lack that, you can't. I think with progression, he showed at every level he can step up. I just need to see him step up at Champions League level, at that elite level or international level to prove it to me. Because they played in the Europa League recently, and I watched the game, and he got done completely.
Yeah.
Pinched, I think, or just. But it happens. It happens. So for me, he'd be the worst, because the other two guys have achieved so much more.
Yeah.
I wish him well. I think he's a very good defender, and I think there's more to come. Ledley King, without injuries, like Paul McGrath, isn't he? He's just fantastic. Everyone talks about him as magnificent. Obviously, I've seen Thierry Henry, who was when he was a monster in our league. Ledley King could run with him. He would keep him quiet throughout the whole game. Henry had to think of other ways to beat him rather than just pace and ability and skill, because Ledley King won't have it. Ledley King is really respected in the game. I think he's the best. Sol Campbell second, Lewis Dunk third. Obviously, the cons for Ledley King is his injuries, and that would always be a big thing for him. But I think he could, whatever level, I think Ledley King, he would step up and be one of the best defenders.
I thought he was amazing.
Yeah. Do you want to talk on these guys as well? Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, all right. First off,
as well.
I think John Terry is the best defender on this list. I think John Terry was world class.
Yeah.
And by world class, I mean I think he was the best defender in the world.
Yeah.
Carvalho isn't too far behind, but I think that John Terry still takes it. I think Ledley King is the next best player. I thought he was great. I think that Sol Campbell, it's difficult because I hated Arsenal at the time, but Sol Campbell relied a lot on pace, and a little bit like Casemiro, if he didn't really sort of understand his distances against a clever player, like a sort of someone like Zola, for example,
right?
I felt that Campbell, he didn't quite have the mentals, and to bring it back to earlier, his pre-defending wasn't like top class. Like I think he was just used to being the biggest and the strongest, and in those positions he was able to move men. Like last week we talked about strikers, about how the best strikers, the best physical strikers, could move a man. Like Haaland can butcher someone out of the way, Ronaldo can jump over the top of them, that kind of stuff. You were getting nowhere with Sol Campbell. Like he was a unit, but it was in terms of where he positioned and his space, I didn't think he was great. Whereas Ledley King, I think, was absolutely brilliant at pretty much every part of the game, and would be in conversation as one of the Premier League's best defenders of all time if he'd remained fit. And as you say, like Paul McGrath, there's just injury problems. Famously, he couldn't even train. And I think it's a real shame, because we'd have learned a lot about defending. And often when we talk about sort of black players in particular, we only talk about their physical attributes. But Ledley King really had it in his head, like the spaces he left and the spaces that he defended. And what I'm seeing from all of this is the best defenders are the ones that defend space more than the man or the ball. All right, next three, Monday. Interestingly, Robert Huth is often cited as the greatest deadline day signing in Premier League history, as he kept Leicester up that season, and then they won the Premier League the following season. Decent as a defender. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he had a great partnership with the Jamaican international at Leicester, didn't he?
Wes
Morgan, that's the one, yeah. And he win loads of headers, powerful in that respect. Underrated on the ball, I believe. I think he could bring it out and pop it, a little bit. Not ping it, but pop it, just do the right thing. And that's what you want to see. But overall, I just don't think he can compare to Gary Cahill or Ruben Diaz. In this list, Gary Cahill, I think, underrated. Remember, this guy was playing for Bolton, so he knows defending, that sort of football. And Ruben Diaz has come from Benfica, has done really well at Man City. I want to see him, like you said, you asked the question, I'd like to see Ruben Diaz playing for a lesser team and see what he's got. Because you've got guys at Fulham like Anderson. You've got guys like, who's the guy, your guy at Wolves?
Kilman.
Yeah, so these guys are playing for teams where you can really see if you're a proper defender or not. I'd like to see Ruben Diaz play lower for a lower level, mid-table team or championship team, and see what he's got there. So on that list, I would go Gary Cahill, Ruben Diaz, Robert Huth third. Gary Cahill gets props from me because I think he proved after a long time for me, he won me over. He's a good defender, good leader. He's not the biggest, but he put his head in where it hurts. And I think he's still just above Ruben Diaz for me.
Really?
But,
Treble winner Ruben Diaz.
yeah, because you have to look at where he's played. He's played for Bolton. He ended up at Bournemouth. He's played at the lesser clubs and still got into England squads based on that. He played for Chelsea, obviously, and he was respected there. I know firsthand from an insider that they really rated him at Chelsea. So maybe. So yeah, for me, it would be Gary Cahill, Ruben Diaz, and Robert Huth. Now you might be shocked, but Ruben Diaz is a very good player. He's class, obviously, absolutely proper class. But the real acid test for me, put him in a system where you have to show more side of your defending, not having 70% of possession every game. Then we see what you're really about.
All right. This one, I think, is going to be an easy one. Marcel Desailly is a legend of football, World Cup winner, like AC Milan, all this kind of stuff. But I put him against two players that I think are really good, like not top, but really good in Gallas and Konate. What are your thoughts?
I wanted to know your thoughts on Gary Cahill, Diaz, and Huth quickly, if you don't mind.
I think based off his CV, you have to put DS ahead.
Yeah.
I think that Robert Huth is an underrated player, very good left foot, good at free kicks, good character, brave, strong, and very similar to Gary Cahill. I think that Cahill was probably boosted a lot by John Terry. Not to take anything away from him. Exactly. He learned a lot. So he took that in. I think Gary Cahill is a great defender, but I think he's a top defender. I don't think he's a great defender. I think that he's probably a little bit underrated, and I was always quite surprised that he went to Chelsea from Bolton because clubs were always sniffing around him, but no one took the chance. And then he turned out to be a great player, and I think he reminds me a little bit of Wes Brown.
Okay.
In how he defended, but I liked him. But I'm more interested in Desailly, Konate, and Gallas for you.
All right. Yeah, it's good challenge, isn't it? This I like this. Desailly, I mean, I have to put him first, regardless. It's you have to. Yeah. This guy was an absolute. They used to call him the Wall, or the Beast, or a name with presence. Like we sing. This guy is the man. You can't get any sniff of change out of him. John Terry speaks highly of him. I'm talking. Obviously, I want to go into detail about the actual defending, but when you hear fellow players talk highly of certain people, it suggests a lot, especially for defending and leadership. This guy was a leader. John Terry thinks he wouldn't be the player he was if Desailly hadn't influenced him and come to the club, taught him how to defend. Well, I remember when he did come to the Premiership at his older age, and we were playing Chelsea. He was just Andy Cole. Really had a struggle against him, and we were seeing these players for the first time, top players from the 90s or the 80s from Italian football come into our game, and you realise just firsthand now just how good these guys were. Desailly obviously played for France for a long time, had a great partnership with Laurent Blanc. They obviously won a World Cup, and Lilian Thuram and Lizeroux, what a unit that was, So I have to give this guy credit. Champions League winner, multiple Champions League winner with AC Milan, and obviously he scored a great goal in one of the finals, playing in centre midfield. So he's very, very versatile. Strong as a rock. They called him the Rock, maybe. It was the Rock that was his nickname. But he comes first. William Gallas comes second for me. William Gallas is versatile, but I remember when, once again, Man United against Chelsea, realising you can't get a change out of this guy. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong. I remember when he played for Marseille, when we were playing them in the Champions League, he stood out for me as a really good defender. The other thing with William Gallas as well, he's got character. leadership skills. He's someone you want around to have around. He will be there for the fight.
Really,
Konate,
leadership skills.
yeah, as in
when
he'd be there for the fight. He's
no,
a guy.
I'm on there now. Like when was it Edu who broke his leg at Birmingham City when it looked like Wenger was going to get his Eduardo, sorry,
Yeah.
was going to win the league. I remember Gallus on the floor crying, smacking the ground.
Yeah.
That's not a leader to me.
Right. Sorry, you're right there. You're right. That's the wrong thing to say. What I'm saying is he's a great man to have around the change room.
Okay.
Personality. Konate would be last for me. Still, obviously, the jury's out on him. I don't think he's as good as people make out. Or I don't think he should be on this list like Eric Dyer below him or Julian Lescott. I can think of better defenders. But obviously, he's playing for Liverpool. He's a giant of a guy. He uses his physicality pretty well, but he can be caught out. And I think if France continue to play him at the Euros, they're going to have a problem. They should play
him or Upamecano.
I would play Saliba. I know Saliba's not getting the manager's giving him a hard time.
Yeah, but let's say it's Saliba +1. Are you picking Konate or Upamecano?
Well, Upamecano, I think, would be over Konate for me.
Okay.
Based on what he's doing for.
I'm glad Andrew's in the shower. He hates Upamecano.
All right.
Right, we got some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that interesting, but it looks like the bogeyman is back, and that Dan, the dickhead Ashworth, is going to be signing for Manchester United as some kind of director in the next day or two, and will be banned from signing Newcastle United players as part of the agreement. It's about 6 million, according to reports. And I hate him. I don't like him. And he
Tell him why. Tell him why you hate him.
Why? Because he was head of Peterborough United's youth department when I was winning tournaments in that area, and I was invited for a trial, and I was turned down by League One side at the time. And I think that it is one of the greatest injustices visited on British football ever. I know that he can't see a decent player, and now, 20 years later, he's back at the football club. And imagine that. It's very annoying. But speaking of annoying things, what's Bart got to say for himself?
Okay, so Bart saying Desailly had a better career than Van Dijk, but at his best, the Dutchman towers over him. So he rates Van Dijk over Desailly. Konate is clear of Martinez, Maguire, Evans, Kalamba, and Lindelof. So basically, Konate is better than all our.
Do you agree with that?
No, I think Maguire is better than Konate.
But Leacher, Evans, Kumbala, Lindelof.
I think. Well, what's standard? I don't think Konate is as good as Maguire.
Yeah, I agree. I think Maguire is a better defender, but the others, I tend to agree with Bart. To be honest, I think that Leacher is a similar player, aggressive, front-footed, and stuff. In terms of defending, not on the ball, I think Konate is much better.
Okay, so Dragon saying here, Fernando Torres had one game where he terrorized Vidic, a hat trick for Torres and a red for Vidic. I don't remember Torres' score against us beyond that. I don't think he scored a hat trick against us, but he did. There's a lot of examples where he gave him a hard time. Terry, well, on that note, I'm off to make myself sick.
Oh.
Night Fairs, football is about sports shit too. Worst player of my lifetime. So obviously, people don't like Terry because of all the issues he had off the pitch and his personality. Company, Terry, Kazza Campbell, Desai, and King. My top 5, says Andrew.
Hard to argue.
Yeah. Desai, very good, says we deserve better. Lescott, very good, says we deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
Carvalho is very good, says we deserve better. Terry was brilliant at passing with his headers. Andrew Williams. Terry was more about the space because he had a Burnley centre back beside him.
Don't know about that myself.
I'm not sure. Lydia King, very underrated. If it's not for his injuries, he would have been unreal. And DK Wilson, how you doing? He says, yes, Darius, that is a great description of Virgil van Dijk. That's what I was trying to describe. Watched him destroy Haaland. Rasmus looked like he was seeing a ghost. There you go. I want to say hi to Dale Griffiths as well. He's just come in. He said Konate can lace Leach's boots. So that's
Yeah, fair. I mean, as every opinion is welcome and so on. I think Kanate is a better defender in every aspect except on the ball. And now I'm not going to ask you who the best defender here is, Amonde, for the last one, because I think it's fairly obvious. But I want you to talk to me about the strengths and weaknesses of the last three, being Company, Eric Dyer, and Joleon Lescott.
Joleon Lescott, left-footed. He was at Wolves for a long time. Big, strong defender, very physically strong. I just don't think he had the ability on the ball. Obviously, he played for Man City. He was signed for Man City because at the time he was one of England's centre backs. I just don't think physically, yeah, very good, but mentally, don't think he was a leader. I think he had to be led, and I just think that overall, he's probably not. He's one of the worst. I'm not disrespecting. Look, obviously he's a proper pro, but on this whole list, he would be one of the lesser players for me.
He's probably the highest goal scorer on this list.
Really, I didn't know that.
I think he might have Everton. I think he might have equaled Bruce's record for goals from centre back in a season.
Oh, wow.
I think he might have got 14 for Everton one year.
If that's true, then I'm surprised by that. I had no idea. He's a coach now for England. He's doing well for England, coaching. But I just think when he was playing, his physical attributes were very good. But I think the con was that I don't think he was too bright as a centre back. Had to be led.
Right. What does that mean? What does too bright mean?
Meaning, I just think you can sometimes rely. When we talked about strikers, and strikers are blessed with something attribute which is really good, and you don't really work on the other side of the game. As a centre back, yeah, you got the presence, you got the physicality, like Sol Campbell, but Sol Campbell and Josh Lescott, I don't think they ever worked, or maybe they couldn't. The other side of the game, which is technique, leadership skills, positioning, I think they would get caught out a lot of times based on that. So having to be a complete defender, you need to have a bit of everything. I think they excelled in the physicality side of things, but I think not being bright is not having the mindset, the perception, the intelligence to know how to position your body.
These are all buzzwords. These are buzzwords. You've talked about Gabriel, people playing triangles around him. You're suggesting the same thing for Lescott. What is it that defender needs to have to stop this happening that players like Terry, King, Desai had that Lescott, Gabriel don't have? What is it that they need to see or they need to do that stops this happening?
Easy answer. Just go to your slides that you presented earlier. We don't need to go now, but about this. I'm trying to repeat what you said in the slides about awareness of space, perception, working as part of a unit, and protecting the spacing behind you, being able to talk to the people in front of you, the midfielders, organise. You can talk your way through games. I never saw that from Lescott, even though physical side of things, he could do the business. So that's where I think he lacked. And it was so much of a drop-off for me. That's why I think I was put him over Eric Dyer, by the way. But that's why I think he's one of the lesser players on this list. Eric Dyer, technically very good. He's brought up in Portugal, wasn't he? He speaks fluent Portuguese.
Yeah.
Technically, I think he's very good technically. And obviously now you're seeing he's playing for Bayern Munich and he's getting in over Kim and some other top defenders as well.
De Ligt?
Yeah, well, they're playing together at the moment, but I think he was getting in.
Well, Upamecano is there. So they're centre-backs. Yeah. Upamecano, Dyer, De Ligt, Kim. So Dyer's starting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But I think what gets him in is maybe, and what made him good at England, why he's respected at England level and at Spurs, because he's come from Portugal. Now, as we saw with Kieran Trippier, when you go abroad, you learn a different art of defending. He's brought that to Spurs. He's brought that to England, and he's able. Even might not be the fastest, but he would. You see, he's a good man to have around the changing room because he understands the game and understands what you have to do to defend properly.
I also think his left foot is a huge part of why he's played.
Like Bayern.
For anyone, Eric Dyer, I think, is something like, I think he's the top player in the Premier League for passes made from centre back. as well, and in the top, like I think he might have more completed passes than Modric for Spurs. Like Eric Dyer is essentially a midfielder, like but off his technique. But I want to just get back to one thing, which is that of all the players here, you were talking about defending space behind, in front, like, and all this kind of stuff. Who was the best at that? Who was the best space defender?
I'm just looking now at the list. I might have to say Company.
All right. And also, shout out to George. Like, let's do some comments before we just finish.
So George in the house, and he's saying, Hoof is my choice of these, because when we're talking about, I don't think you're there for that one. We've done those comments. So obviously, George, welcome, George. Big up to you, man. He says, Vaughan is a trick that they're already in order. maybe. And we've got this one. He said, who is, okay. Cahill, talking about Cahill there.
That's when he joined.
We were talking about Josh Lescott, unintelligent, and he's saying not the sharpest tool in the shed, or even the sharpest knife in the drawer. Ruben Diaz, okay, we can read that yourselves, guys. The final ranking of the defenders to be interesting. Hang around for that one, George. No wonder they have lost the league. Talking about Bayern Munich, aren't you? Because Eric Dyer's there. And Dale Griffiths is saying, in my opinion, there are only two players on this list, because this is the last 15, 20 years, maybe even longer with Desai. There are only two players on this list that are world class, and that would be Terry and Company. The rest were all good, but not elite. And it's hard to say what world class.
I think Desai and Carvalho are definitely up there, but John Terry is an absolute standout to me.
So you said about defending space. I gave you Company. I've never seen him. I think defending on the front foot, very good, and defending behind, equally good as well. I've never seen him bossed or dealt with properly. He's for me, he's one of the best in the Premier on this list as well.
Really?
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. That guy, leadership. You talk about mentality, character, leadership skills. He's got that. You talk about physicality. He's got that. You talk about defending from the front foot, defending in wide areas. He's got that as well.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a bit of everything. And not many. And we talk about pros and cons. There aren't many.
There's no cons.
No cons for me with
Company. I would have to say that I know I shouldn't, but I really, really like Vincent Kompany. I remember watching All or Nothing with Manchester City, and Vincent Kompany's dad is a diehard, or his stepdad, sorry, not his stepdad, his father-in-law, is a diehard Manchester United fan. And he would go around to a little terraced house in Fallowfield or Withington or whatever, watch the games with him. And it was incredible to see like a multi-millionaire in like a council house treating a man normally and with respect and stuff, who, despite the fact that his son-in-law plays for Belgium and Man City, he was supporting England against Belgium in the World Cup and supporting Manchester United against Man City. And I thought he was just a class act, Kompany, and a sort of gentleman. And I really think that he is an incredibly underrated defender. I know City don't have a lot of fans. Well, in England they do, abroad, but in England they don't. And I think that he's a little bit disrespected. And speaking of people that are disrespected, George, do you want to come on the channel one of these days? I know you've stopped doing the In the Dark podcast, but I'd love to have you on for these absolutely nonsensical views that you're having, like Pepe at the top of the list of defenders. Right, Amondo, we're going to finish up with you ranking the top 3 defenders here.
Really tough. John Terry, Kompany.
Who's it between?
Carvalho,
and
I would say Ledley. But then I'm just looking at the list. Gabriel's no. Gallas maybe. Sol Campbell, maybe. Desai, I'm not putting Desai in because this is the last 15, 20 years. Desai.
This is off Premier League, right? Not
Yeah.
internationals.
Well,
and
Desai
things.
was old when he came to Premier League. He's still great for the time he was there. But I can't put him in because he's different gravy. He's just different era as well. He's a different generation
Okay.
to these guys. So if you don't mind, I'm going to leave Desai out of this one. I would go John Terry first, Company second. I'm sticking with that. I'm not changing there.
Okay.
Third would have to be Carvalho.
I actually think that that's my list as well.
Why? Reasons why?
I think Ricardo Carvalho is incredibly underrated. Like, I think he's essentially the Andy Cole of defenders, and should always be in the conversation, but never is. You know, he's part of a partnership that conceded less than 16 goals or 17 goals or whatever. Like, and that should always put you there. I think John Terry is, in my lifetime, the best centre back I've seen in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And that I think that Company is the best modern centre back that I've seen in terms of dealing with wide areas, central areas, on the ball, plus leadership. Like, was it against Chelsea? He scored that ridiculous goal from outside of the box.
I remember the goal. I don't remember who it was against, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that like Liverpool were hunting City down hard, and Company always produced. And like, I don't like him because he's a City player, but as a man and as a footballer, I think it's difficult to. I think that when you look in the Premier League at the last 10 years, I think it's difficult to say that Company and Van Dijk aren't the two best.
Yeah.
But we're going to finish with what Dale Griffiths is saying, is give me the best two centre-backs in the Premier League of all time.
Okay, but he's saying surely Rio and Vidic are the best Premier League defenders of all time.
This is why I left all United players off this list, because we can't have a proper conversation. So take United players out of it. Who are the best two centre-backs of all time in the Premier League?
Oh, in the Premier League. I would say, so you're going to, it's going on track. John Terry, I put him up there. But I was saying recently, I would like Van Dijk and Company. I left John Terry out of the equation. But now that we put him on the list and everything else, it would be between Van Dijk, Company, and John Terry.
Yeah. I'm going Terry and Company off what they won. Like, I don't think Van Dijk, I don't think a Champions League and a Premier League is enough compared to the serial Premier League winner. Like, John Terry has won a Premier League in 3 different teams, basically. Like, Company is the linchpin of a team that that basically kind of came out of the shadow of Ferguson.
Right.
And stuff like that. And whatever you say about Van Dijk, and some people call him Disney, and some people will say this, that they lost by single points to Man City or 2 points or whatever over 4 or 5 years. And it was a great effort from Liverpool. But I wonder if Terry and Company had been in that team instead of Van Dijk, if they'd pushed them across the line, because we've seen that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you know what, I respect you, Bath Time, because we are Man United fans.
Cheers.
We are Man United channel, and we know what people are saying in the comments about John Terry, but I respect that you can give him props, because I do as well. I respect him as a footballer, and he is, to me, one of the best centre backs I've seen, and one of the best England centre backs of all time, in my opinion. More than them guys, maybe even better. So I know people give you pelters, but I respect you for standing up and saying the same thing, that you rate him. And you're just talking football. You're not here with no bias. It's just talking football. And you know, John Terry deserves a lot more credit.
Yeah, but we're not that kind of channel, Monday. Like, no one's going to come and give me abuse because I say John Terry is a good player. Like, do you know what I mean? If we're on a different channel, possibly, but I respect the audience. I know Dale is talking about Rio and Vidic as the best Premier League defenders of all time. Yeah, obviously they're Man United players. Like, won Champions Leagues, they won the league. Like, of course they're the best Premier League defenders of all time. We're Man United fans, can't say anything else. But take them out of it, and we can have a discussion about who the best players are. And Dale isn't going to say that Company, Desai, Terry are bad players, or at least I don't think he is. So we don't need to sort of praise ourselves saying that we know good players and things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a really good show. Once again, Bath Time. Last week when we talked about strikers, I really was like a lot of food for thought about what makes a good striker and what they expected to do on and off the ball, that kind of thing. Today's same applies. I mean, talking about centre backs and defenders and what's required at the top level to be a top defender. It's massive, isn't it? And even saying all that, there's still weaknesses in these players. There's a great list of players here. We can still find sort of weaknesses in their game. And it's not always, like you said, 90% of the game is not always about the physical side of things. It's about having the intelligence and wisdom to know and organize your partnerships with people.
I think pre-defending is the most important.
It's gone.
I think that like seeing the danger before it happens and preparing for it is what separates all of these players beforehand. So we got predicting, preparing, and basically getting side on. And then when you look at Terry, Desai, Company, Carvalho, the guys that people have rated as the highest, I think that this is what separates them, is that John Terry could see the danger, he positioned himself correctly, and he got his back line in a position to do it. I think Company was the same, and the difference between them is that Terry was more about, let's be a bit facetious and say bravery, like in terms he was there to sort of make the blocks and stuff. Yeah. Whereas Company was relying more on his physicality to shepherd a situation, as it were. And when you look at the next row of defenders of Sol Campbell, Carvalho, Gallus, I think that they're pre-defending, that they're reading of the situation and not even anticipating danger, but thinking where the most dangerous situation for the ball to arrive to would be, and preparing for that is what separates the good from the bad. So I think it's essentially what happens before the defensive action,
right,
is what makes them great. Is like being prepared for the most dangerous situation.
Really good point there. I just want to say as well, as the game develops and the football gets bigger and bigger, I think they have clearly given advantage to attackers. Whether it's the offside rule,
with the rules,
with the rules, it seems like the pass back rule, the offside rule, it's making it. They want to see more entertainment, more goals. That's why the defenders, I think, are going to have to get better to actually deal with these circumstances.
Do you know what? That's so interesting, because when I think that anyone who watches the show knows that I'm all right with like deliveries and set pieces and things like that. Like I'm a good crosser of a football, and I can strike a ball. Like I'm a very good ball striker. But when I went to like Chile, there were two sort of things that I learned. Is that one is that strikers were no longer asking for tap-ins. Right. You look at someone like Rasmus Højlund and stuff like that, and they can only really score a goal if it's almost impossible to miss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not like running into a space that's vacant. They're running into a space where they've got a high chance of scoring a goal. And one of the things that I learned in Chile was that I was, instead of sort of like feeding my striker from like half spaces and places like that, I was putting the ball in an area where it was really difficult to defend.
Where?
So, like, for example, you like crosses from the byline as a fan, yeah?
Yeah.
I think that they're quite easy to defend, to be honest, because if you're set correctly as a defensive unit, you're stepping out, and that gives you the advantage physically because you're moving forward to meet the ball. Okay. What you don't want to be doing as a defender, in my opinion, is moving backwards to get your head on the ball. And this is why I rate Van Dijk, because Van Dijk is brilliant at just running backwards.
Right.
Like, he's always looking for the space in behind. So the best crossing situations were from the half space where like if you think about Anthony when he's taking a shot, imagine that's a cross instead, and the defenders are all pedaling backwards, and you've taken that physical advantage away from them. And I would always be trying to hit that space behind them with a bit of pace and dip and stuff like that. It was up to the striker to judge the distances and my body shape and where the defenders are in order to be able to get on the end of the ball.
Okay.
When I moved lower down the leagues, I've hit a cross that when I've hit it, I thought that's a goal. And I've watched both the defender and the striker just like look at it as it goes over. And I thought, Jesus, I need to give them tap-ins to score.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get you. You're right. I'm glad you answered that in detail because I've had to really think about it. That ball you're talking about, which you have to trot back and defend, because then you can't see what's going on behind you. And it just causes a lot of panic, I imagine. But also that ball that played across the 6-yard box, that cut back, that pass. Often defenders can score own goals. You see that all the time, don't you? When it's played in that corridor.
Keane against Madrid.
Who?
Keane against Madrid. A lovely ball in. Okay. Yeah, he scored an own goal. Oh, I love you, Dale. Look, Dale, I know you weren't here earlier, but this is emergency defending. And get Dale's comment up against, please. Oh wow, okay. That's. I wish you'd been here earlier, Dale, where I was moaning about how only people that have football experience should be allowed to speak on YouTube. But when you're talking about delay, this is sort of emergency defending, where we're talking about forcing attackers out wide and not committing to a duel. And this is something that I like about Van Dijk, because what he does, and it's something I'd like to see one of our defenders do one of these days, is he gives them a space and says, go on then. And it's always out wide.
Yeah.
And I think that, and because they're in a 1v1 situation, normally as an attacker, what you do is you try and pin a player. And by pinning a player, I mean, you're saying we're in a duel now. Like, you've got to deal with me. But what Van Dijk does, and what this sort of delay thing that you're talking about is that the defender is taking charge of that situation. Yes. And he's got his hips pointing and his shoulders pointing in the right place. And he's saying, come on then. And even though it looks like an opportunity for the defender to attack, for the striker to attack, the defender is in complete control of the situation. And I'd love to hear more about like your coaching, especially if you're a younger man, because me and Amonde have quite a lot of conversations about coaching and things we were taught, and they're very, very different.
You know, I big up to Dale Griffiths, man, and like days is saying he had trials at Bolton at 14 years old. You must have been top talent playing for district and county and
absolutely
at that time. So yeah, it's really great to be playing team football at that age, and yeah, credit to you, bro, for your achievements. I'm just thinking back, like Gary Neville. I remember when he said, "Oh God, I had one game and I realised I couldn't do it anymore."
Yes,
and it's really important like that. So I've had a few games where I felt I doubted myself, and it's all about body position. When I didn't, you were talking about Van Dijk there, it just made me realise, oh God, I remember coming up against some good quality teams and good young players and not knowing, because I'm now, I couldn't get close to them early enough. I had them running at me, squaring me up, doing what Van Dijk does, and twisting me up and going one way or the other. And I couldn't dictate to them, they would dictate to me, and that's the worst situation you want to be in, because they can get a shot off on goal or something. Yeah. And that's really, so listening to this right now, it's reminding me the arts of defending is so much to it. And I'm going to go and train. I swear to God, you've inspired me. I'm going to go and train and put for the next few games of the season, I'm going to go and play myself a centre back. I don't like to anymore, but I'm going to go and play myself there and see what I've got, because don't want to be in a situation like that. To do that, just put the work in early, pre-defending, like you said there, to stop things happening. That's so important. I'm really inspired by this show today at halftime. Thank you.
Oh, wicked. Well, honestly, I'll tell you something, Amonde. As a player, like I like district, yes, county, not a bloody chance. But when I was younger, because I was like weak and not explosive and all these things. I was a technical player and I was always getting bullied. One of the things that I learned pretty early on is commit the defender early. And
Yeah.
what I rate in defenders a lot is when they don't let the striker commit themselves. They commit the striker by giving that space, the space that they want to defend, that they're comfortable in defending. And I think Van Dijk is the greatest opponent, the greatest guy at doing that in the Premier League. And with all this, like that we've talked about, have you got any new sort of theories or ideas on Maguire? Has he gone up in your estimation? Has he gone down?
I think, look, I'll say again, big up Simon Warder, though. He's saying not always easy to retain shape, especially with our defence. So we're talking about our defence. Questions on Maguire. I like Maguire. I think Maguire is a certain talent. And I'll go back to 2018 when I watched him in the World Cup. And I thought, this guy is, I said it, and I know it sounds embarrassed because we've said so many things in this show. I said Maguire could be as good as John Terry. And I said this in 2018 during the World Cup. And obviously, my judgment's not the best a lot of the time. And people say, if he said that, people laugh and say, how can he say that? But what I meant was,
just a learning opportunity.
Yeah, I saw a lot in his game where I thought, wow, this guy can play on the floor. He can bring the ball out from defense. He wins his headers. I'm ticking off all the good things that made him a good defender. But the characteristic, personality, character, maybe that's been tested when you're put in the spotlight at a weak Man United when the pressure's on. And he's come to Man United. Maybe it's the wrong move for him. If he would have gone to Man City or gone to Liverpool or one of his teams that were on up, Chelsea, maybe he would have been the player that...
Like Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he would have been the player that I feel he could have become. I just feel that he'd been being at Man United under the spotlight with a team that's not performing and not winning championships, major trophies like that. I think it's been bad for him. But what I do think is there's a reason why Southgate still picks him, because not because we've got a poor amount of centre backs in England right now. I just think he's still remains the best. And you had the Tyrone Mings of the world, which you liked. Obviously,
I like Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, you like him a lot. Connor Cody's he's off the radar now. He's going playing for Leicester, I think. Or one of these championship sides.
Everton, I think Connor Cody's at.
Oh, is it? No, surely not.
I think so.
No, he's gone to Leicester, I think. I don't know.
Okay, maybe he's gone to Leicester.
He's not in the runnings there. He's not in the runnings anymore. Harry Maguire, for me, if he plays in the Euros this year, once again,
he'll be a team in the tournament.
Yeah. How can you be team in the tournament in the Euros and the World Cup 18 so many times? He's a good player. It's just unfortunate because we're shrewd fans and we cuss people, we laugh at people, for any mistakes. He's playing in a poor Man United team by our standards. So I think Harry Maguire, given different career moves, could have been the player that I felt he was going to develop to be.
All right, I'm on date. I'm going to end it, I think. Well, I can't. Only you can end it because I've deleted the login. I think we're going to end it here. I've really enjoyed this show, and I want to give special shout outs to everyone that has been here for 2 hours or so. There will be no watch along on Wednesday. If you want a watch along, I will recommend Stefan from the United Philosophy, who will be appearing with us on the match reaction afterwards. Do we have a quiz tomorrow, Monday?
I do. 9 o'clock. Chelsea fan coming on. His name is Barry. And he's set it up from last week. So from TikTok as well. There's a big community on TikTok. They're all...
Monday, Arsenal are playing Chelsea tomorrow.
So we'd have to do a preview. Oh.
Are you sure he's going to come on at 9 o'clock?
Arsenal playing Chelsea, sure?
Yeah.
Well, we're going at 7 o'clock, sorry. It's 7 o'clock we're going.
There we go.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, you're right. He did say that, actually. All right, so 7 o'clock tomorrow, guys. Make sure you tune in. But make sure, if you're just coming in late, go and check out this show. A lot of really good detail. I'm inspired. I'm going to go and get my football, get jogging again, and try and produce with the things fresh in my mind about what makes a good centre back. Try and be the best I can be, fulfill my potential at my age. Bath Time, thank you so much. I do appreciate the effort and the detail, like a fine tooth comb. You go through in like giving us these shows, which are very, very special. And talk about underrated footballers and underrated shows. You are underrated, Bath Time. You deserve your props. If I was given
Not by
award,
myself.
no. But everyone, everyone brings something to the channel, and I'm just like I can't praise you enough, bro. You're my brethren, and I love you. Thank you so much for doing what you do, as well as Mr. B. You know, doing
Yes,
what you do.
shout out to Mr. B. I love him on day too. I love Mr. B, and if you are watching or you're watching in the comments or whatever, give Mr. B some love.
Yeah.
He's having a hard time, and he's one of the good guys in life, and he doesn't deserve it. So shout him out. And look, DK Wilson is still here. Wicked. All right, I think we're done, Mr. Juma.
Okay. I'm going to sign out with the sub vids outro. Good night. God bless.